we go. Good afternoon. We are going to call the regular business meeting of the Klickitat County Board of County Commissioners to order. We are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show all three commissioners are present.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the business agenda as presented.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the business agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the commissioners' meeting minutes for November 22nd, 2022 and November 29th, 2022 as presented.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, we are going to move into citizen comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual, as always. The commissioners will respond to any comments after everyone has had a chance to say their piece. We will begin, as always, in the room. Nope. Okay, we're going online. If you have any public comment, please raise your hand, *6 to unmute yourself on your phone, or turn your video camera on. We'd be happy to hear from you. Seven, 2, 1, 1.
This is Greg Wagner with CEASE. You have before you today in the consent agenda a request from the Board of Equalization to allow you, the legislative authority, to process and hear assessment appeals. I'd like to know if you three commissioners have had the required training per RCW 8448.042. If you have not had the proper training to process and hear appeals, then you cannot pass the consent agenda today with number 1 in it. And on December 6th, commissioners meeting, you held an executive session per RCW 423110. You allowed outside counsel, Mr. Stephen DiGiulio, to attend that meeting. I'd like to know where in the RCW for executive sessions that it says you can allow that man to attend. If you cannot provide that information, then you violated the law. Why is it that the solid waste contract that which you were discussing during that executive session was not held in an open public meeting? It is a contract that affects the citizens of the county and should not have been discussed behind closed doors. Were any amendments made to the solid waste contract during this executive session? I'd like for you to answer me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Excuse me. Is there anybody else who would like to provide public comment? Ms. Bosque.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I agree with Greg Wagner that number 1 needs to be taken off the consent agenda before approving today until we can verify that all 3 of you county commissioners have had the proper training to take over appeals for the Board of Equalization. So until that can be cleared up further, I would just suggest that get taken off and not just pass through, because it sounds like you have a lot of people in your county upset with the new raised assessed property values. And unless you have the training, you should not be hearing that. It should be left up to the people who have the training to do so. Also, I would like to ask all 3 of you commissioners, well, Commissioner Sauter, Commissioner Anderson, sorry, Commissioner Christopher, you have recused yourself from any doings, any talking of Carriager project. So Commissioner Sauter, Commissioner Anderson, have either one of you seen the pre-submission proposal for the Carriager Solar Project to be sited off Knight Road? That's a very straightforward question. I just want to know, have you seen that document? As you know, we have seen that document. So that's how we get the information about this project, because public records request has exposed that document. So my question to you two commissioners is, have you seen, looked at, read, perused, had in your hand, had it set before you, had it emailed to you in any form? Have you seen this document? And if you have, I'd like you to answer truthfully. And if you have, maybe you can tell the citizens what you think about this proposed Carriager project and the size of it at 1,083 acres, 2 acres of lithium ion battery storage. So that's my question for you. I hope that you'll answer it if you've seen that document. Thank you. And oh yeah, please take number 1 off till we can make sure you guys are properly trained to be hearing these Board of Equalization appeals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bosquet. Is there anyone in the room who would like to provide public comment? Okay, back online. Gabrielle Gilbert.
Yes, hi, thank you. So I just want to follow up on the research that was done on McKenzie County in North Dakota concerning daycare, that they were able to actually start in 2014, and now they're in a 2022 budget that they've put millions of dollars aside for this second daycare that they're building. They're using, I believe they're also accessing USDA grants as well as other grant dollars, and that they have a collaboration that's city, county, school. And so I just wanted to see where you were in your fact finding. The other thing I want to express is what was spoken last week. One of the commissioners brought up not addressing public commentary, not having the commissioners speak to that. I'm going to be really clear that any kind of barrier that is put up when it comes to public comment and when it comes to citizens speaking to elected officials on government, that those barriers not be played with. I honestly feel that there has been so much negative attention about public comment in Klickitat County that it is giving you license to literally make these, pop up these ideas of, we're not going to comment on this. Let's place something in front that we're not going to comment at the end of commentary. We're not going to have discussions with citizens. That is not okay. And I really feel that public forum is an important forum for the discussion of government between elected officials and the constituency. And when you toy with this because you're picking up toys to leave because you're angry about something is not okay. And I want these attacks on public commentary to stop. And I want barriers to be dropped and not placed up. I don't want to play cat and mouse games with information. If I ask a straightforward question concerning something that's going on in the county, I just want a straightforward answer. So I asked the information last week to confirm 40 children in the county from county workers requiring care. And now I'm like, I think that it's important for commissioners to understand that maybe people don't have access to email you. Maybe they don't have the phone to call you. Maybe they're just asking you when they're in front of you and they're just asking a simple clarification, and that shouldn't be an issue. And that's what I want to express. Stop attacking public commentary. If anything, walk into 2023 preserving it and keeping it an ongoing conversation between constituents and elected officials. And again, childcare is infrastructure. This is about economic build. If it's happening beautifully in North Dakota, then please let it happen here. And the only way that it can happen here is that you start caring about it enough that you do something about it. And that's what's important. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. have people to admit still? Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment to the Board of County Commissioners? Raise your hand, *6 to unmute yourself, turn your video camera on, or come forward. Would you lower Gabby's hand? Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment to the Board of County Commissioners? Almost looked like you were raising your hand back there. Sure, we're all looking at this, looking for the same thing.
No.
Oh, you're.
I can take a shot at it from memory as far as the thing I'm
Yeah.
looking at.
Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment? Last chance. Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment to the Board of County Commissioners? I am not seeing any. Is there anyone who would, any of my seatmates who would like to respond to anything that was said?
I might at the end of public comment period. I'll have to wait.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take a stab at a couple of these. First, to Mr. Wagner, as far as and also Ms. Bosquet, as far as the item number 1 on the consent agenda, which is just for folks that are online that maybe aren't aware of what that is. I'll read it. As far as item number 1 is a request from, and again, I'm emphasizing, from the Klickitat County Board of Equalization to the county legislative authority to process and hear timely filed appeals for the current assessment year 2022 beyond the 28-day regularly convened meeting. And it does reference the RCW 8448010 and the WAC. Require the County Board of Equalization to request the county legislative authority approval to convene at any time when petitions filed exceeding 25 or 10% of the number of appeals filed in the preceding year, whichever is greater. So there appears from the comments that were made, they're giving the impression that this would, in fact, that the Board of Commissioners would be hearing these appeals. It is not true. No, we have not had the training to hear those appeals. In fact, we have no role in hearing those appeals. The Board of Equalization hears those appeals, and they do have to have the training, and they go through all that. So what this simply is without this authorization, they, meaning the Board of Equalization, cannot hear appeals outside of that 28-day period, which is just not practical given the number of appeals, which is not unprecedented. This is a fairly common number of appeals that we're seeing. So it's not the Board of Commissioners. So your references to training that's in RCW 8448010 is not relevant to the Board of Commissioners. So that is you are mistaken. And so I will, just for the record, be voting yes on the request from the Board of Equalization to have extra time to hear these appeals. Outside counsel and the executive session last week. Outside counsel, yes, we cannot have an executive session with just any outside counsel. They have to be a duly authorized deputy prosecutor, so they're actually not outside counsel. So Steve DiGiulio, who has done much work for Klickitat County over 25, 30 years, actually helped draft the host fee agreement between then Rabanco and Klickitat County. We have before the board, there is some discussion going, the possibility of some amendments, which again are not unprecedented. This would be the 6th amendment to the host fee account. At the board's request to the prosecuting attorney, we asked to have Mr. DiGiulio deputized as a county deputy prosecutor with full support from the prosecutor, which he would have to. And so he did participate along with the prosecuting attorney in a very appropriate executive session to discuss potential amendments to that host fee agreement. And there are specific exemptions for not having that in executive session because the public's interest could be harmed by having the discussion out in the public. If we're talking about amending a contract with somebody, we're not going to show them our cards in a public session, meaning for the amendment. So that was totally appropriate. And as far as to the other piece, as far as amending, of course not, no action can be taken in an executive session. That is by law. And so any potential amendment that would happen to the landfill host fee contract, or frankly, any contract, cannot be done in executive session. It must be done in an open public meeting in the full light of day. And so that I can categorically deny. There were no decisions made. There was nothing. This was just getting some advice from a very knowledgeable counsel that had helped and has helped with basically all the other amendments as well. And I'm going to defer the rest, and I can come back and talk, as far as for Gabrielle at the end, if the chair allows. Go ahead now. Okay. Gabrielle, thank you for keeping this topic alive. I appreciate the work too, as far as the stuff going on in McKenzie County back in North Dakota. And we are continuing to look at getting details on that stuff. We, meaning me, And I will share those with you and my seatmates before I exit the door at the end of the month. As to your other comments about public access, as far as public comment, I agree with you as far as that. I think it is necessary, and I don't really think that there is any attempt on the part of the board to limit access to the board to have those conversations. And I will say, you and I have had detailed, passionate discussions about topics over the year. I have always found you to be, you're interested in having a conversation and exchanging ideas and learning, and also giving information to help so that I can make better decisions. That's what that's all about. And I believe that the vast, vast, vast majority of the public, that is their whole point for wanting to have an interaction with their elected officials. Unfortunately, we have some folks that they're not interested in that. They are interested in public spectacle, and they are interested in trying to make people look bad, or for whatever reason. And that's their right. They can do that. That is our process. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that is the price of democracy, and it is the price of free speech. And that's just the price we pay. And as frustrating as it can be sometimes to try to find a productive way to have a conversation with some of these folks, we have to keep doing it, even when it's they're really not, they don't appear to be interested in actually getting any information or changing their mind or learning something or imparting information. But that's the system we have. And I agree with you, Ms. Gilbert, that needs to continue in some form or another, so that folks feel like they can have access to folks. And I seriously doubt there's anything that's going to happen that's going to change that.
Mr. Christopher. I would echo everything Commissioner Sauter said with regards to the Board of Equalization. It's very clearly written in there that it is not trying to usurp the BOE's power to give it to the county commissioners. It is very plain in how it is written that is not the case. With regards to outside counsel is brought in on projects that are complex, that are outside the realm of what staff may have. This is nothing new. This is nothing special. This has been happening since the beginning of time. And we are very fortunate that Mr. DiGiulio was willing and able to take on our project, being that he has more knowledge and history than any person on this board, because he was there when it was originally written. And of course, you never make decisions inside executive session. All decisions are made outside of executive session. So thank you, Mr. Wagner, for your concern. And I hope that we've been able to clear that up for you. As with regards to Ms. Bosque, the pre-submission proposal by Carringer, no, I have not seen that. And I purposely have not seen that because at some point I may be a decision maker with regards to that. Last I have heard that no application has been filed. Pre-submission conferences happen regularly over many different projects, over many different reasons. Whenever you think you might want to do a project, you come in for that. Carringer, or whoever their name may be from week to week, they could file an application with Klickitat County. They could file an application with FSEC. They could decide they don't want to work here, or that it's not going to pencil. I don't, with how many things that we have to do on a weekly and monthly basis, I'm not going to speculate or spend my time worrying about just one pre-submission conference. On top of that, in order for us to be neutral and seen neutral, if we would like to rule on decisions, that's why we don't get highly involved when it's in the application stage, because at some point we may be the quasi-judicial decision maker with regards to these applications. So I hope that's helps you understand why we don't always talk about it, and we don't always talk about individual projects. With Ms. in terms of Miss Gilbert, I haven't had a chance to review the video from last week, and I was on a plane to DC. So I don't know what exactly was said with regards to citizen comment. I will say that citizen comment is an important time for us, all three commissioners, to hear from the citizens at the same time. With that said, much of what is said is a statement. It's not a back and forth. It's not meant to be a question. I can understand if there was some feelings of discontent from one side or the other, because very often it just feels like you're being attacked rather than trying to be understood, or you're trying to impart knowledge. With regards to next year, I give deference to the chair next year for how they would like to run the meetings, just like how my seatmates gave deference to me this year, how I would like to run the meetings. And I think our meetings were more civil than they were our first term in office because of the changes that were made. I would always say that I am always available for anyone to comment. I am always willing to meet. I'm always never more than a phone call away. My phone is always on. You don't have to just come to a commissioners meeting just so you can be recorded and for posterity. At any time, you can reach out to any three of us, and we're always willing to have candid, concise, clear communication with regards to the issues at hand. And finally, I would say thank you yet again, Gabrielle, for bringing up and all of the emails with regards to rural childcare. There's a lot of different ways it's being done in the US, and until you sent that email, I had never even knew that McKenzie County, North Dakota existed. So thank you very much for your information, and I'm going to continue looking into it just as my seatmate. With that, Commissioner Christopher.
I have nothing that you guys haven't already said, so I'm good.
Yes, please.
I have a follow-up because I didn't purposely not answer Ms. Busquet on the Carringer question. No, I have not seen. The only thing I do have some recollection of seeing, and a map or a visual representation of the area, but I believe that was in response to Mr. Wagner's and Ms. Busquet's public records request for the what had been submitted, and so I think I was just copied on that. And I haven't read any of the documents. I believe I saw a map as far as, so I'm familiar as far as I know the area, as far as the scale, size, all that stuff. No. For the same reason is that, that issue could have, it won't now. Nothing's going to come before me as far as in the next 2 weeks. And so I guess I could go really just dig into that file if I wanted to now, but as a rule, then no, the commissioners don't for anything that may end up potentially in front of them in a SEPA appeal. We try we don't gather information because it's like the judge going out ahead of the trial, so.
And I will say, with regards to that project, I think my seatmates went to that open house that they hosted.
Yeah, I didn't, but
Oh,
I think
okay.
Dan did.
Dan,
Commissioner
okay.
Christopher.
Commissioner Christopher and I went to the open house, and I don't know if you would consider that their town hall or their public information gathering, but we attended that. So I want to be very clear that that was not part of the pre-submission application that I've seen. That is not the process. That was what they were hosting themselves, as I believe Ms. Busquet and Mr. Wagner were there. You have nothing, Commissioner Christopher? All right. With that, it is 1:30 and we are going to close public comment for the day. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for our public comment as always. We are going to move into our unfinished business, which is the public hearings that were continued, closed to further comment, adoption of the 2023 budget tax levies and 2023-2028 CIP. I wasn't here. Did you guys close it to further public comment?
We had
last
left
week?
it open to my
Yeah, that's what I
knowledge.
thought. I saw that in there.
Okay, I wasn't here, so I wanted to be,
Everything's open to written.
It was written. No, yeah, it was closed to further oral
okay,
testimony.
it was closed to further oral. Well, that's nice.
It was a written comment.
Okay, all right. And we'll have a update from Jen.
Well, same update as the last probably 3 times. I think this is our 4th time going to public hearing for this budget. Definitely being thorough with this one. It has been posted for ample amount of time. We ran another ad this last week to make sure everybody had enough time to review it and provide any written comment. I haven't received any. The board has not received any either. So before you have the adoption packet, which covers the resolutions for the property tax levy for the general fund, the road fund, the 2023 budget, and the total of $59,484,698, and adopting the 2023-2028 capital improvement plan.
Thank you, Jen. Are there any questions of staff?
No, we've been over this and I feel very comfortable that I know what I'm doing.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion if anybody would like to.
Okay, if we're ready to
I
proceed.
think first I need to close it to further written.
Okay.
With that, I will close the public hearing to further comment, written or oral, and we will move into discussion. Any discussion?
Not for me.
No, we've been over this a lot. We all are well versed on the budget and in the other matters before us, so I would just motion to move forward.
Okay, I mean, one thing I will say from my, long tenure on the board, 16 years, I will say this is probably the most intentional budget development since I've been here, as far as I think the board and staff and departments and everybody have really put the effort into understanding the intricacies of the budget and are really, I think the board is better informed to make a decision than at least I feel that way about myself in the last 16 years. So I'm very comfortable moving forward. And if the chair is ready and my seatmates are ready, then I'm willing to propose a motion.
Please.
You ready? Okay. And just for folks listening, we have quite a pile of these because the budget it's not a single, or the budget is a single document. The enabling legislation is pretty complicated. So we are going to take these in the order that they're on the blue card, if the chair is okay with that, so I don't get lost. So first, before us, we have a resolution in the matter of establishing the 2023 tax levy for the general fund, election reserve fund, and the Veterans Relief Fund. I am just so... I'm not going to read the whole thing. Here I said. Okay, I'm going to do just the last. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the governing body, the taxing districts, that an increase to the regular property tax levy is hereby authorized for a levy to be collected in the 2023 tax year. The dollar amount of increase over the actual levy amount from the previous year shall be $51,518.46, which represents a 1% increase from the previous year. Said actual levy amount shall be apportioned based on, and it will be split between mental health, the fixed levies, Veterans Relief Fund, the Election Reserve Fund. And it should be noted that this increase is exclusive of additional revenue resulting from new construction improvements to properly which could include newly constructed wind turbines, solar, biomass, and geothermal facilities, and any increase in the value of state-assessed property and any annexations that have occurred, and refunds. And so I'm just saying that so that folks know that what the board is approving in the levy is that 1% cap on, which is about $51,000. The other is just what we levied last year, except for any new construction or new things that go on. So with that said, we have that resolution that is before us. My motion is to approve and adopt that said resolution.
I would second that very limited worded.
I was getting worried for staff there.
Sorry, I'll be better on the next one.
Oh, there is a motion and a second to adopt the 2023 tax levy for the general fund, the reserve fund, and the Veterans Relief Fund. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Mr. Chair, next we have a resolution in the matter of establishing the 2023 tax levy for the road fund. It also is just the 1% in new construction. My motion is to approve the resolution and adopt it.
I would second the motion.
There's a motion and a second in the matter of establishing the 2023 road levy. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, next we have a resolution in the matter of adopting the 2023 through 2028 capital improvement plan as submitted. My motion is to approve the resolution and adopt the capital improvement plan.
I would second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to adopt the 2023 to 2028 capital improvement plan that incorporates the adopted 6-year road program and any amendments made during 2023. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, and finally, we have before us a resolution in the matter of adoption of the budget for the year 2023 for Klickitat County government for various funds in a total sum of $59,848,698. My motion is to approve the resolution, and I'm going to defer. Yes?
$59,484,698.
Thank you.
Yes. What did it doesn't matter what I said, because that is what's written here, and I said something else, obviously. So let me restate. $59,484,698. My motion is to approve and adopt.
I would second the motion.
There is a resolution in the matter of the adoption of the budget for the 2023 year for the Klickitat County government for the total of $59,484,698. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Yes, that's worthy. You did an amazing job, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Stand up a whole new fund, a whole new department, and
Yes.
Hey, and you're gonna have the next one done here in another couple of weeks, right?
We are going to start on it.
yeah, I know that's 2024 starts, like January 5th or something. Okay.
Good job. Okay, next up, we have our findings and conclusions, terms and conditions in support of the board action on November 8th, approving the model decommissioning plan for wind and solar. Mochi, good afternoon.
Before you is a proposed ordinance to adopt the model decommissioning plan that we'll discuss on September 20th, 27th, October 25th, and November 8th.
Are there any questions for Mochi?
No, I would say what was the ordinance, that the draft ordinance accurately incorporates the changes that the board discussed and that would implement them.
Okay. I would entertain a motion if,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have before us an ordinance of Klickitat County, Washington related to energy development and the provisions of a model decommissioning plan for wind and solar energy projects. My motion is to approve the ordinance as presented.
I would second the motion.
There is a motion and a second to approve the ordinance for the model decommissioning plan. Is there any discussion?
The only thing I would not, it's not really relevant, but it's, the question is, we did receive I did receive a written comment, which again, it's after, so it's not germane to this, but it is, I think there is still some confusion out in the industry about that this model decommissioning plan is not retrospective or retroactive. It's prospective forward on any new projects, not previous projects. And that might be something I would suggest to reach out, make sure folks know that the adopted, the ones that have been approved are the ones that are still in force for those folks.
Okay.
I did answer that
Did you?
email, by the way, and explained that to the writer.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Christopher. I had not. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the adoption of the ordinance for the model decommissioning plan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And thank you, Moshe, for your hard
Thanks,
work
Mochi.
on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Commissioners.
thank you. Okay. Who's going to be doing the finance committee? steering
Brenda
up
said
there?
she was coming over, but do you want the agenda?
Yeah,
so we
let's
can
just
work
do
on
the
that?
consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda with 9 items, noting we are pulling number 2 for further review.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with 9 items by pulling number 2 for further review. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Would you like the pay estimate, sir?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pay estimate number 28 to Kirby Nagelhout Construction Company and the final payment for the Klickitat County Services Building Project, contract number C03120, in the amount of $26,103.17. And I, for one, would be happy to say I'm happy to see final.
Final. Yes. Second.
There is a motion.
I will second both the motion and the comment. Right.
There is a motion and a second to pay estimate number 28 to Kirby Nagelhout Construction for the final payment for the Klickitat County Services Building Project. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Ready for bills, please?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve accounts payable warrants in the amount of $309,256.75 and payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $795,744.39 for the date ending December 12th, 2022.
I would second the motion.
There is a motion and a second to pay the bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Oof, we are running ahead of schedule.
I did give Director McClure a heads up that Water Conservancy update may this year.
Okay.
And if you would like, I will go contact someone from the Finance Steering Committee to see if they're available.
Sure, I mean, we're 15 minutes ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go that way too.
You got to go too? All right. Would you like to make a motion to recess for 5 minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recess for 5 minutes.
I will step down and second the motion. All those in favor of a 5-minute recess signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We will see everyone back at 1:50. Okay, it is 1:50 and we are back in session. And since nobody's here, we will do our regular board pending, which was an update on, you've been on since 2019?
Yeah, the Finance Steering Committee was formed back as far as for the steering, the financial system.
Right.
For what we were going to do with it. Sorry, since 2019. So, and I don't want to get ahead of, because Brenda will be here, and I'm assuming the treasurer is going to come over, and hopefully Gordy, because that's the current Finance Steering Committee, and 3 of the 4 members are leaving. And so we thought, given that, we should make a final report and make some recommendations, and so that's what this is. But actually, Mr. Chair, if we have the time while we're waiting for that, I would do under board pending an update. I did attend the meeting in Glenwood last Wednesday on the timber range. It was a good group of folks that were there. Timber folks had a good showing as well. And the sheriff and the undersheriff. I think generally, it mirrored, I would say, the meeting we had, where it was positive and there's general support. There was a little pushback from a couple folks as far as the county's share, and why aren't we just, basically paying for all of it? And I pushed back on that as well. What I heard from the timber companies especially, which pay the bulk of the assessment, is they were sort of meeting in real time right there. And, they were kind of crunching some numbers and are, willing to raise their assessments to cover the bulk of the increase, to be able to add back in a second person, so that, at the 1/3, 2/3. What I heard from the rancher folks is that, Neil, Mr. Kaiser was clear as far as, they'll do their part, they'll pay their part. But I did have a request from folks to kind of come back and continue, is the county, is that, 1/3, 2/3, is that absolute? And would that be something that we would look at as far as that formula? Because I said, one thing is the 1/3, to me, the weight of it, meaning the precedent of it, is it's a precedent. That split has been going on for 20 some years, and it obviously was acceptable to the parties originally, in the original, that, we pay 2/3 of the cost. The other folks pay the 1/3, and how they arrive at how they get their 1/3 is their business. But I said, there's nothing written in stone that is the formula. Maybe it should be 50-50. Maybe it should be 40-60. Maybe it should be 1/4, 3/4, which of course they'd like that. But I would say at this point, I would expect something from definitely what I heard commitment basically from everyone that they will come up with but basically to fund 1/3 of the 2 person.
How does that work? We just passed a budget.
We
that only
did,
has
and it
one.
doesn't, and it would have to be that second, and that's what I had asked the sheriff about. How much lead time would you need as far as if the board approved that in the future? Because that position, they have a vacancy now, and they would not, if I'm recalling, they generally, they don't become active until, really about April. And so he was talking about, well, by March, he would need to start the hiring process and get somebody on board and something like that. So it's not something that has to be done immediately, that it could be handled potentially, as far as it wouldn't have to, because the dollars, like, you're always able to take more revenue in without a budget revision. It's just the expenditure side. So if the board was amenable to it and had the agreement for the revenue piece of it, but at some point before that, those line items ran out of dollars, you would have to have a supplemental budget to put the additional revenue in for the expenditure. So it's somewhere a point, halfway through the year, because that line item they wouldn't be able to process the payroll.
I guess what I would like to see is the revenue received before we finalize the budget for the future year.
Okay,
So essentially, if they want to pay now to get a second deputy in 2023, they're essentially paying again in 2023 in September to pay for 2024's person. I don't want to be chasing my tail every year.
right,
by
I think
collecting
though,
after the
and
budget.
this would be a good discussion to have with Jen and Karen. Because I think the way it has worked, like they have not, that they normally, they get an assessment after the season, not before.
Okay.
Because that was one of the discussions was like, well, how late, because one of the things that they get billed, because I had raised the issue is there's a difference between budget and actual. So what do we do if the budget is this number of dollars and you're committed to 1/3 of those, and then the actual either comes in lower or higher? What does that mean? And in the case of if it came in lower by the end of the year, now we've collected this money that we can't, what do we do with it? And, do we carry it over? Is it like fund balance? What do we do with that? And so that's when I think, and I may be misspeaking, but I believe now they don't actually bill for the service until basically the end of the season, like the heavy season. So
So theoretically, if they came up with something now, it would be to cover last year. They're not offering to cover last year.
No.
They're offering to, if we reinstitute the program, they promise to pay us the money in the fall.
right, they would sign the agreement for the assessment of the dollars to cover, which it is going to be like $45,000 or $46,000. So there would be a new agreement made, and then it was pretty. I think everybody acknowledged that agreement needs to be updated every year with the new number, so that it's not, you don't get the sticker shock of going from $15,000 to $45,000 or $46,000.
So I've got,
Maybe the agreement can be signed in the budget year.
That would be the best,
that-
really.
that then would lock it down for the next year.
so I guess I have an issue here. I'm looking at the budget that we just, for the range deputy program for one individual, it's $117,115.
No, that's actually, that was the original, and that was for the 2 positions. So Jen printed me off new stuff, so we did have
Okay.
because I want to make sure I actually had the right number, because I was under the same assumption. And that was in the preliminary, and that was for the program, and that was for 2.
Okay.
So the most current numbers from what's in the budget, if you took, because it's, 1 deputy doesn't cost half as much as 2. There is some economy of scale, I guess, if you add a second one. I'm not sure why exactly, but there is.
How that works.
Yeah, how that works, that 2 is not 1 times 2. It's almost, but not quite, because it's, you get 2 for
So I guess
117.
the question is where does the rest of that money come from? Does that come from within the sheriff's budget, or does that come from non-departmental? Like,
That would be a
We don't have
discussion.
it budgeted.
Right, it's
We
not
don't have it
budgeted, and that
budgeted.
would be a discussion between the board and the sheriff. But I'm here to report back on the discussion with the industry folks, timber and ranchers, is they'll come up with they're willing to pay 1/3 of the cost of the 2,
And
somewhere
that's
around
kind
$46,000.
That's kind of where I was at with, that information kind of needs known when we're doing the budgeting before we pass the budget.
Right.
So that we can plan for the next year, which is why I presented that information a year ago.
We did
So
have
I
that
don't
conversation.
know what we're going to do for this year, but that will need to be a discussion, I guess.
Thank you for the update.
Okay.
All right. We're going to step back out of board pending and move to the Finance System Steering Committee update report from all those who will never be here again.
I'm actually going to move down around. I said I was.
So you guys got it done, right, before you're leaving?
What's that?
Y'all got it done before you're leaving, right?
You guys are gonna argue?
Mr. Sauter, if you could speak into the mic, please.
Yeah. You'll hear me.
So this is your finance, Klickitat County Finance Steering Committee. And after discussion, we decided that this probably need to be memorialized in form of a resolution because it was formed during a workshop. And 3 of the 4 of us will be leaving. And there's one remaining member that was a little nervous about not having anything in writing on where we were going. So, and he had a good point. So we have before you what we've come up with, and we're here to discuss it if you want to discuss it. And anybody else have something you want to add out of the committee?
I will.
Let me know if you find the page.
Yeah, we
There's
don't
no-
have the
there's-
tabs.
The
Oh, I'm
tabs
sorry.
aren't on there this
It's
time.
on 35 of 175.
Yeah. Page 35. I tried to print it, but our printer got jammed and I left.
We usually have cheat tabs, but this week. we
So
don't
yeah,
have
as
cheater
the
tabs.
auditor said, the Finance Steering Committee has been meeting since 2019, was formed, you know, obviously a previous board, previous lots of folks, to look at updating or making some recommendations and ultimately decision as far as the financial system of the county. That began in 2019, and so we've been meeting, we've met multiple times, you know, on a pretty regular basis,
Yeah.
in fact, and did, and it's all kind of laid out in the resolution, which I want to thank the treasurer and the auditor, the public works director, and the clerk for helping to kind of get it consolidated down into a single document. But we really felt like, as Brenda said, 3 of the 4 of us are leaving in a couple, 3 weeks, and we thought it was important we should have some sort of final report, a final recommendation, because we are well along in this process, and we really felt like it would be important to kind of share where we're at and make our recommendations for going forward. And so that's what you have before us.
Consultant is way under, sorry.
As the only person that's going to be here next year.
The last member.
I agree with Dave. We have spent many sessions discussing, starting back in 2019 in a workshop, and some documents that were presented by then budget person Glenn Chipman, and some structures, and this group started out of that. And we've been through a lot of different areas and discussions, and trying to figure out how to make it to where it will be successful going forward so that we can get a system. And obviously in the interim of there, we had the COVID situation, which kind of waylaid us a little bit. But I think that this group has put together the RFP to bring on Barry Dunn, who's doing the work on trying to bring ERP vendors to the table. And I think we're quite a ways along on that. We're finishing up some of the discovery process, and hopefully we'll be starting those in January. So I really do, I agree with Dave. I'd like to thank the group. I mean, there's been a lot of time and working through a lot of challenges. I mean, you have the challenges from my office and Brenda's office, and then from, all the folks. And so we've been able to get, I think, quite a ways down trying to get this system replaced, which I think we all recognize, or maybe not replaced, but updated or wherever. So I think we, that's what we're on the path for. And I think we have a pretty good foundation to be able to do that.
There was a lot of effort that went into getting to this point, and time. And I think time is one thing that we don't have a lot of with our current system. And so to keep this process moving forward, this resolution will help the next group of people kind of know what we thought and came up with that was important to help the process move forward and not backtrack or start over or all those other things that really waste time and don't get us to where we need to be. So everybody, put forth a lot of effort to get to this point, and I think our goal is to see it continue to move forward after we're gone.
So if I could just, as far as what the kind of current path that we're on right now, just, and it's not necessarily for you folks, it's also for folks that are, because I'm sure I can hear some head scratching over Zoom right now where people are, what are they even talking about? And just so a little background information, you know, basically the accounting system, the way we keep the books for the county, we have been operating on Kayenta for a long time, and we don't want to presuppose Kayenta is still a vendor, and that will be a decision, you know, in the future that'll get made. So we've been going through this process to Barry Dunn right now is establishing what we need to be asking for from vendors for this new system. And a lot of work of staff folks that work with these systems every day have been ongoing for the last 2 or 3 months. And so the plan is now that in the first quarter of next year, then we will put the solicitation out. We will have the vendors will come in. When I say we, you and Greg, and whoever else is now, well, although one of you will be sitting here, as far as on the Finance Steering Committee, will come and make their presentations, and then ultimately a decision will be made about which vendor to go, and then it will be a lengthy process of, you know, putting the new system in, the transfer over, all the training and all that stuff. There's a ton of work to be done. You know, we're a long ways down the road, but it's a pretty long road, but it is definitely necessary to get the new system. I think one of the most important things that we really felt like was that, and it's in the last piece of the resolution if the committee's okay. I'm just going to read that. It says, whereas during the evaluation of needs, the Financial Steering Committee has determined that it is in the best interest of the county, and this is our recommendation, that it continue to facilitate the management of the installation and ongoing maintenance of the ERP system so that the steering committee continues. It's going to have new people, but that the committee itself, that is the best way forward. In addition, the steering committee has recommended that there be 2 system administrators, one in the auditor's office and one from a department using cost accounting and inventory, which is accounting speak for public works, or it could be senior services is another that they use a similar, and that's why we changed the language to be more inclusive, not so exclusive, but that there be 2 system administrators. The 2 system administrators would co-chair a technical advisory committee made up of representatives from the auditors, the treasurers, fiscal management, budget, public works, and information technology. So we felt like that was an important recommendation to make as far as kind of management and implementation of the new system, whatever that new system is going to be in the future. That will be 3 of the 4 of us will have no say in what that is. So, although I will be watching, so although I really won't care. So,
I don't know, I'll watch and I might.
she will. The auditor will still care.
Very well said, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, questions, discussions?
No, just good work. I'm curious what Barry Dunn says in the spring, so.
Well, we're hopeful. The biggest concern we have, and they've seen it in other places, and that's why, and I don't think I'm telling tales, but is it is a lot of work to respond to an RFP, and you know, you may put this out on the street, and you may end up with you only get 1 or 2 people or a single vendor in that, or 4, you know, and we want to have. You know, we're trying to get that nice sweet spot number because all of those, and so, you know, we want to get legitimate folks to respond that are actually serious, but we want a serious response, not they're just giving us something to have their name in there, because it's a lot of work to respond. And so that's one of the things that we've been developing. It's kind of more of a hybrid. It's not a full response. It's like a little more abbreviated to kind of weed out. I don't know if weed out's the right, but it's really the serious.
Really find the people that are serious and that want to pursue the project to the end. Because there's a lot of folks out there that are doing this, and so that are maybe bigger, higher paying counties than Klickitat County.
Right.
So Barry Dunn has given us some advice that really, if we go this other way, they have a feel, that's one thing, they have a feeling for how this industry and how this RFP process works, and they have contacts out there, and they have other instances where people have gone through the process, put in all the work, and got, like Dave said, 2 or none, and none of which are quality of what they were hoping for. And so we're kind of trying to do that on their advice with a little bit of reverse, where we're going to go out and find out who's interested without them having to really go through the response, but still having the 4,000 items that we need to have in there, and kind of do it in a backwards way and try to get to the same process with vendors that are going to want to be here and actually install the system in here and support Klickitat County.
Maybe it'll be Kayenta.
Well, we don't know what it's gonna be, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it may or may not be, but I guess I probably shouldn't call it Abacus 2.0, but it's not Kayenta's fault. It's 25-year-old programming that we haven't upgraded.
Okay. So you guys want to keep the steering committee, the electeds plus the director, and have that as the overall overarching, but you want to have a technical advisory group that has
2 managers.
two managers,
administrators.
two co-chairs, plus all the other departments that are going to need to be when we start working with Barry Dunn and everything. My question is, should one of the system administrators be from information and technology to have access to the new software?
I think the system administrators are really folks that are managing the tables and doing a lot of the work. For example, right now Pam is our main system administrator, and what she's setting up tables. I mean, that's the purpose of that sub-technical committee, and including IT on that and some of the other folks, is to then provide some sources to this group, because the auditor is the one who signs the financial statements for the county, and in a lot of counties is the person who actually holds the financial system. In our county, it's not like that. And so that's one of the reasons why we feel that this is a good approach in order to kind of keep everything rolling, so we can have a recommendation come from this committee to the board that would be vetted through the auditor, the treasurer, a member of the commission, and the public, or other heavy users of the system. So I mean, we've had discussions with Randy and other folks on there, but I think that whole system administrator piece is a person setting up users and doing other things, not doing like database hierarchy and all that kind of stuff, because there's a good chance that this system is going to be web-based potentially. That's another, we don't know that. We're just, I mean, you have to think that that's going to be a player in this whole thing. So or cloud-based, sorry. But that's one of the reasons why that technical committee is there, is really because there's times where we four were like, well, we don't really sure. So we needed some of the more in the weeds folks of being that kind of technical group.
How long do you folks figure that this board in its new form next year is going to need to be around?
I think the idea
The
was
finance steering committee?
the finance steering committee would be
Perpetuity.
permanent. It would be permanent
For this thing?
Perpetuity.
Okay.
for this system.
For
That
this
would
system,
be the way things would move up through, meaning that the technical advisory committee they're going to be tackling the day-to-day issues that come up.
Right.
And the system administrators are, similar to how, I mean, it's actually working okay now. It's just this is really kind of just puts in place what's already working, except adding a second system administrator, which we don't have by design a single point. We just happen to have a single system administrator, which is dangerous.
Right,
It's
and the
kinda
reason I
scary.
was looking for that clarification is because my main question is the commissioner appointment to it. Should it be the same commissioner over the life of the deal, or should it be the chairman sitting on it for that year and the next chairman sitting in on it for that year? And what's your opinion of that versus one commissioner for the next 4 years, kind of thing? Or have you thought about that?
I think we've kind of, I mean, obviously, when this started, Dave was the chairman of the board. And then through all the processes with different things, I think it made sense as we'd had a lot of tough discussions and there really wasn't much in there. We didn't want to have to go back and kind of revisit that. I don't know personally that it needs to be the chairman of the board. I think it just needs to be a representation of the board.
okay.
And so if the board had a person come through, it would be maybe nice that it's somebody who's not a 1-year person and maybe it's a 2-year stint or something. And it would be nice to maybe have a change because it would bring a different perspective. The finance committee, which is the chairman of the board and specified in statute, we don't really have a choice in that, and we've asked the PA for that. This is not what we're recommending on this. We're just saying we recognize that there needs to be a board member on there, and I think that if it was somebody who was on there if the board chose for a person for 2 years or however the board broke it down, but I think having because it does get technical. I mean, there is a part where you're working through some technical things, and Dave might have some more to add to that as a board person himself.
Well, that's what I was thinking though, because 1 year you're gonna be darn near retraining people
Yeah.
a little too often.
You could be as far as the terminology and I would especially agree during this process as far as like, trying to figure out, what we're gonna do, pick out a new system, all that kind of stuff. Once this committee will be in perpetuity, and it's really that once the system's up and running, it should be not so heavy. But I mean, honestly, it should always be up to the board who they think the best. Because as Greg said, it's not like
It's not outlined
like the
in
steering
statute.
committee where it's in the statute, it has to be the board chair. And maybe that's the right choice, but that would be deferred to the board at the
I
time.
think continuity is far more important
Well,
than
that's
just picking
just
the
what I
board
was gonna
chair.
say.
I agree.
The continuity, and that's why Dave,
Yes, we
we asked
stayed.
that he stay on, was for that continuity. So,
And then he chose to not run.
Again, I will remind you, we started this in 2019.
so,
I had just run at that
3 of the
point.
4 of them down there are arguing for continuity.
Yeah. As the- as-
Three
As
of the
we
4 are
exit.
arguing for continuity in the future. There has been continuity.
There
It's
has
just happened so, but yeah. So,
I mean, my natural inclination is to be, why do we need, a committee and then a subcommittee and all that? You're just adding more layers. But I think where we're going with this system, that technical advisory group is going to be the heavy lifters. You all have other things that you're working on, or I guess you all are leaving, but that group is going to have, the other things, and you're setting the policy and the direction, and you're quite as into the weeds, unless you're serving on that technical advisory group too in your capacity.
Right. The one thing that I would say is that it is gonna be good with, I think, a financial system to really be able to vet things with the audit, with the account. In county government, we have a unique accounting department, which goes across many areas. There's a part of it in my office, there's a part in Brenda's office, there's a part in Gordy's office, and then there's 35 other parts that are out there too across the county underneath of Dave's or the board's purview. So I do think having this committee is a good idea, because I think we can vet some of that and have those discussions and make sure when we're headed those, that we can give the direction to those admins and say, okay, we're gonna do this, or we're gonna bring on time and attendance, or however, because there is gonna be, even though we're getting a brand new system, it's gonna need something at some point in time, and we're gonna need a group that can collectively sit around and say, okay, hey, what direction do we wanna go? We're at a crossroad here.
Without having to, I mean, your goal is to advise us to make a decision, but our job is to trust in the amount of brain power sitting at that desk to not second guess your decisions.
100%.
To
And
that
give Brenda
matter.
a good tool to
So-
actually, or the auditor,
auditor.
a good tool to sign accurate financial statements.
Right. So I think this group moving forward is a good idea, and I think it makes sense with the, continuity of at least 2 years or more or whatever. So,
Well, we
yeah.
can't promise any more than that.
Right, we can't promise anymore.
Can't, right.
I can
And
promise
then
2 weeks of
Greg,
content.
Greg's gonna have a lot of heavy lifting next year. He's got to re-educate 3 new people sitting
Right.
down there, so.
That's what I told him. He's gonna be the senior statesman of the group now. Scary. So it's like time to step up, Mr. Treasurer.
All right,
You
well,
don't
you've
already.
sold me. I'm,
Okay.
you want to come back up
I
here?
will come
so you
back up
can-
here and vote on this. so.
All right. Is there any other discussions, questions?
I just want to thank Dave as a chair, I mean, as a commissioner. I mean, he was very helpful in helping us all go. I mean, again, we've had a lot of discussions and I appreciate, I think we're also here because Dave and just his time on the board in his last couple of weeks, so.
Yeah, well, I will say from my perspective, and I know it's shared by all of you, is that we should have been having this presentation a
Yes.
year ago,
Yeah.
2 years ago. And it's like, I'm happy, we've come a long ways. I just think when we started, we thought we would have been a lot further, you know.
We
and
did.
we
COVID
did.
helped us a
COVID
lot.
helped a lot, but a lot of it is, I mean, it's a, you know, county government's a big, giant thing to try to move, when you have all these pieces that everybody wants, you know, this is the most important thing that we need to be considering. And it's like, from your perspective, but
Touches on everything.
but it touches on everything. And so it is, that's why I think that what we proposed as far as is a good idea. Like, I really hope that technical committee, because they're the folks that are using it. And you know, we kind of discussed the whole co-chairing thing and how that was, you know, and that will be for them to decide how they would run that meeting, as far as are they going to alternate between them and whatnot. But that's, you know, at this point, that basically that group of people is already doing this. They're working really well together. But we just thought it's like we were talking earlier with Jen about, we have all these processes that we do, but we've never memorialized, we've never written them down. And when you get a big turnover of new people, they're unaware of all that. And they like, why are you doing it that way? It's because they don't have that history. And so we thought it was a good idea to get it down. So this is the best shot at it. Understanding that any resolution the board passes, a future board can unpass. And it's just a recommendation at this point.
Can be undone or redone or whatever.
Yeah, modify.
Got a motion?
I will make a motion, Mr. Chairman. We have before us a resolution on the matter of the Finance Steering Committee and ERP implementation recommendation. My motion is to approve the resolution as submitted.
I would second the motion.
There is a motion and a second to approve the resolution for the ERP system for the committee of the system.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And do we know yet, I asked this question last week, what ERP stands for?
Enterprise Resource
Program?
Resource Program.
Okay,
Anymore, it's just everything, including the kitchen sink. I
right.
think they try
So
to-
it's not just the finance system. It could be time and attendance, it could be anything, inventory, anything that's.
Since 3 out of the 4 of you are going to be leaving, I would like to say thank you for all the time that you've put on since 2019. And I'm sorry you didn't get to see it be completed by the time you're leaving. But we don't know
We
how
might
long it's
get
going to
it
take.
completed by the time we're leaving.
Yeah.
And thank you for Gordy for letting the others get a word in edgewise.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I appreciate all the work everybody else has done. I mean, I might have been, you know, as auditor, the chairman of it, but there's been a lot of work go in from the other 3 members here too. And,
Yeah, Brenda had the unenviable thing of trying to herd the cats together for,
Right.
that was part of some of the problems were, you know, we're 4 really busy people and to try to get everybody's schedules aligned all the
Right.
time. And then as the calendar wound out, we found that we actually got better because when you hold a gun to our head, it's like, you know, I could probably move that. Yeah, I'll be there.
We're gonna need another bronze plaque with names on one side and the other.
well, sometimes I think you had a dog chasing these cats too.
Right.
I was trying to herd them, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you.
You.
Have a great day. Okay, next up, we have right on time, our Water Conservancy Board update.
Gentlemen, I'm going to need to step out to go, but I did want to give you a brief, like 5-second board pending. In the executive, we had Mr. Giulio needing some documentation over yesterday.
Okay.
So let me know if there's anything else you need.
Okay.
So other than that part's
That's all
handled.
you got for board pending?
Nothing, we can't wait.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, thank you. And to you guys, I'm sorry I have to step
Nice to
away. I
see
have
you.
a meeting to go to.
But you're a yes, right? Whatever they're asking for?
You guys can handle that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
Craig Stevens, our Water Conservancy Board Chair, will give our annual report.
Morning.
Good afternoon.
Well, not much has changed over the year except the list of pending decisions has shortened somewhat. Hopefully will be shorter after the next couple of days. We've been doing our work with ecology, trying to bridge the gap between reality and ecology. Sometimes it's hard to do. Dave's our brains of the outfit. He keeps us operating within the law and keeps the books. And I don't know what we're gonna do when he decides he's done, because we're gonna be hurting.
It's always 2 more years.
Although I hear there's a new potential Conservancy Board member.
Oh.
He used to be a county commissioner. That you did.
Oh, that's the first I've heard. I was going through my list of like,
Ray?
yeah, Ray, maybe? I don't, yeah.
Just know there's always room for you.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's an offer. Okay. Yes.
So moved.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of applications there in January of 2020, and COVID hit. Everybody trying to get in on an old application before the format changed, and I don't know, what did we have?
9 or 10, yeah,
12?
yeah,
Something like that. I think we're down to
7.
7,
Yep.
something like that. We got 3 we're gonna work on tomorrow with ecology. So we're at it, but it's slow.
Yeah.
It's just a terribly slow process to try and get ecology to do something.
They're still not back in the office, right?
No, they,
Ecology, I think, is, yeah.
Right.
At least part.
we may need to get special meetings. We've got a technical assistance meeting with them tomorrow, as Craig suggested. We're going to be working on 3 water right changes.
Hopefully we can get.
And how, if I may, Mr. Chair, because I am kind of curious how, I know how it's supposed to work, but I'm curious how it works, meaning, some of the frustration that I have been told over the, that in the whole point of the Water Conservancy Board is to basically do the legwork, here's all, do the fact finding, get the information together, present it, and with the recommendation is what. And, I've heard in the past that it's ecology, it's almost like they're duplicating your efforts, or it's like they don't trust the work that the Conservancy Board does. And is that accurate? Is that happening?
The benefit of the Conservancy Board is you get to jump a place in line.
Right.
It gets in front of the ecology faster.
Okay.
Isn't that
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, principally, if you,
Because anything we send to ecology, they go over with fine tooth comb.
Okay.
And they always modify our decisions. Have we ever had one that wasn't modified?
not that I can recall.
Okay.
I'm not sure any other board has experienced.
I would say
that.
that's disappointing,
done
but
by-
not surprising. I mean,
I
it's,
mean, they've been done by engineers, Aspect, and
right.
all these engineering outfits have done some of these RODs that we've set up there, and they still model them, so
Okay.
you can always count on that. And Dave also maintains all our records. Public education, once in a while we get people asking about water rights, but people need to understand that they need to maintain their water rights, and it's not something that seems to be very well known, even now. And Dave's also, with all his hats, he's also our financial guy, and he's keeping up with the audits every year to the auditor's office, so they're happy. Then we have this list of tasks that we maintain, the board's files, and Dave takes care of all that. He's worth every penny he gets. I took a class this year for Open Public Meetings Act and trying to make sure that we don't miss something.
So that you have to comply with the open public meetings, it's considered a public meeting
And public
also.
records as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Whole 9 yards. And the board plans the following activities. They continue to perform site visits and travel as necessary. Oversight and involvement with the board's record of decisions. Travel statewide, not recently, but maybe if college starts giving classes again. And yeah, we're proactive approach to the pending water transfers in Klickitat County. They've got a marshal now, a water marshal, is what you'd call him?
Water
Water
master.
master?
Yeah.
That kind of is out scouting around now. He's caught a couple of people that are watering outside there.
Their permit.
Yeah, so.
Is that for all of Klickitat County, or what's his purview?
I don't know. He's up in the orchards is where he caught one or two.
Well, I think in generally, we've seen him across the county. And the things that he's coming up with aren't big. It's like you have a water right that's 50 or 60 years old, and sometimes the properties aren't aligned where they're using the water. It may be outside that boundary somewhat, or there may have been an administrative error. So you see that.
Who is that person?
I have not met him. I'm not sure I know him.
Is it Ryan Murphy? Is that his name?
That may be, I don't.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
I've really had no contact with him.
I was talking to him once or twice about.
Usually they speak directly with the water right holders, and we'll see the work, results of his efforts will be coming in as a change. Application to get the corrections done.
And this year we had to use the 10,800 grant that the county commissioners graciously provide for us every year. We ask that you budget it for next year. Hopefully we won't need it unless something big happens. I don't see what happens.
Late.
Yeah, we bit late. You already proved it.
Already approved.
We really appreciate the support of the commissioners in the county. This wouldn't, you can just look at other counties where they're sparse in commissioners and compliance, and it asks a lot of the people involved, and then to add reaching in your pocket every week to pay for stuff is tough road. So, you guys have any questions?
Let's make a comment. I think we're going to, in terms of the challenges working to the water right changes. Craig noted that we received a lot of applications there at the beginning of 2020. People trying to get a hold of the new application form. Well, that form has gone into effect, and we've not had a water right change application since then, and it just recently became effective. But it's asking for a lot of upfront work on the part of water right holders, going out and getting a licensed hydrogeologist to do, the extend validity work up front and the hydrological work up front. There's thousands and thousands of dollars that goes into just getting the application together now. So I think that's the big disappointment, without working with the Water Conservancy Board to sort of get a better feel. Is this going to hunt? Are you going to succeed in getting this water right change? Get a sense of that before you start investing the money. I think this idea of getting it front loaded is not good for the water right holders. I mean, they may incur those costs over the course of it, but at least they'll be weighing in
Once they have a better
investing.
idea.
Once they see what's in front of them
Right.
and have a better way.
This
to
is more
judge that.
speculative, that if you got to spend all this money to find out that maybe it's not going to work.
Right.
And if you kind of got some indication of that at the beginning.
Well, there's
then you
always
would-
that chance at the end of
There
the
is
day
always
as
that
well.
chance, right,
Yeah,
I know.
But they still have the pre-conference meetings to find out, like, do you actually have a case? Is this?
Right, you
before
get a
start
pre-conference meeting.
Before you really start spending the money.
Yeah, but-
It's just that you gotta have all your ducks in a row when you submit your application.
Right.
Part of that financial aid that you guys give us keeps the application fee low at $500. A lot of counties, it's actual costs, they have I've seen some $1,500 and $2,000 applications and up from there. We're here, we've got the money, we just need some people to do their water rights.
But how many do you currently have in the queue?
We've got 7 we're processing now.
7 currently processing it. So you successfully processed 4 this year, or how many?
A couple this
A
year.
couple this year, yeah. Any
Down in the
questions?
west end of the county.
No,
I've got nothing. Thank you,
All right,
gentlemen.
thank you.
doing good works.
Yeah.
Thanks for your,
And I believe we put the 10,000 in the.
yeah.
Yep.
Please.
And we're not gonna have Dave to kick around anymore?
No?
I
Couple
thought you were
more
trying to
weeks?
hire him. For your.
That's a volunteer
glorious
position. Yeah, your
position.
glorious position there.
With 40 hours of
Yeah.
homework to start it.
Yeah,
Are you, gonna build a column in here so we can be on the other side? Commissioner decides. You've gotta have a place to hide.
oh,
You need a big
yeah,
column.
yeah, you need a big column so I can hide it. Maybe.
Yeah, that was always a good place to hide.
Yeah, behind, I know there isn't any in here. It's the new building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, they put the
Thank you
post
for driving up,
outside.
Craig.
Hey, no problem.
Okay. Board pending. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, this will be a discussion for the board the first of the year. But I have had several inquiries from, because as you know, we serve on all kinds of boards and commissions outside of this Tuesday meeting. As far as who will be filling those positions. And I had kind of indicated my thought, what I had heard, in the discussions between yourself and Commissioner Christopher, was that the plan was the incoming commissioner would likely take on most of the same committee work that I would. So I was actually hoping she was going to be here today so I could, one thing so that she knows that, because I think sometimes they don't have a full, okay, good, as far as what, and I don't know if the clerk is, switching the calendar things over. And I don't know how we have treated it in the past as far as the Like, there's a lot of I'm on email lists that really that needs to be redirected to the new, and I don't know if IT can just do that, that stuff that comes in can just go to the new commissioner. Because that things fall between the cracks when that's, because you know how that is, I know, we have stuff that's still coming in for Commissioner Johnston and that we respond to. Because it's the,
Yeah.
and so I think that's important to do that because it's going to be difficult enough to get up to speed, much less if you're missing a bunch of notifications and people don't know they're supposed to be there. So,
Like, there's things like McKed, I think she could do great on,
Yeah.
and then there's stuff like the financial software stuff, and it's like, I don't know.
yeah,
if
no,
that's
I don't
where
know that
you
I
should
would.
be.
Yeah, I think a little.
We could pick up some of that slack.
Yeah.
And then LSC, he's picking up, so
Right.
that's gonna be a little easier for.
Right.
Yeah, one I don't know might be Swatch, because I'm currently on that and I didn't know.
Or
if there's
AdSWA too is another, which that, that's a fine, I mean, we all have to take our assignments. And, that's a really important committee with the area aging and it's a good, I've only been on there the last 2 years because that was Rex handled that before. They took that on, but there's more going on with that than you realize,
Mhm.
at least that I realized until I was actually on the committee. And so I think that's another important one. And then I don't know with the, I'm thinking of like Classic, the Klickitat Lyle substance abuse would be another one. And Lori's from Klickitat, so that
Right.
would be a natural fit that she would be the one that would take that one over.
So is there anything you sit on that wouldn't be good for a brand new commissioner?
I would say other than the finance steering committee on the financial system.
Right.
No, everything else, it's you just throw them in the deep end of the pool and they'll figure it out. You know how that is. They'll swim. You'll swim. You might,
Okay,
might sputter a little bit from time. I don't swim as well as I used to either, so.
you float better though.
I float better though, that's right.
Any other thing
Nope,
else?
nope, I'm
Okay,
good.
I'll give a short update. We went back to DC for the Hood River Bridge last week. Met with senators and representatives from both sides of the river. And those meetings went really well. We've got a lot of institutional knowledge and support from our Senate delegation from Washington as well as from Oregon. They are willing to make any phone call, write any letter we need. And then the transportation, we met, so one day was with them and then the next day was with transportation, federal highways, and we got a lot of really good information out of them. We actually ended up meeting with Charles Smalls, who is the deputy undersecretary, so the guy right below Pete. And we didn't expect him to show up, and so, that's a political appointed position where he's a straight shooter and says, this is what we need, this is what you need to work on, this is how we want you to go, and it was really good information. And then we just heard today that Oregon Transportation Commission is, all the work we've put in with them is really paying off. They're saying that I-5 and the Hood River Bridge are the top priorities for Oregon. And so our big thing right now is, we got 75 million from Washington. We've got, hoping to get about 125 from Washington, 125 from Oregon. We'll raise somewhere around 100 with TIFIA toll bonds, and then anything we can get out of the feds, which it better be at least 125. But the feds definitely know who we are, and
Good.
and so it's really positive. I mean,
Who went with you?
it was Mayor Keithler, Mike Fox, who's with the Port of Hood River, and then me, and then Michael Shannon with HNTB. So he is taking over as the project manager. And so it was the right number of people to fit in all the offices with the
Right,
people.
right.
And not everybody's getting just like little snippets.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And you're not just sitting there not talking. So it was the right amount. We'll probably be making multiple more trips, as we go through it. But we still got multiple grants still outstanding. And we just need to get the record of decision. That's the big thing right now.
Okay, good.
That's my big update. You're in here, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. All right, that's all I have for right now. With that, is there anything else for the good of the order?
Don't believe so.
Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting until Thursday, December 15th at 9 a.m. for scheduled workshops.
I will step down and second the motion. All those in favor of adjourning until Thursday, December 15th at 9 a.m., please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you all for signing on and being here today. Have a wonderful weekend and holidays.